right, y'all, before we start, because some of y'all be tripping, under the advice of counsel, I got to add that the views, thoughts, opinions that are expressed on this podcast are mine and mine alone. They do not represent my employer. All right, let's go.
Because I was like, damn, do we really want to get into this discussion? Because if we get into this discussion right here, y'all. What?
All right, y'all, welcome back. Today's episode is sponsored by Dr. Armstead, a.k.a. the Afro Teacher on TikTok, educational mentor, public speaker, author, etc., woman of all trades. We will get more into Dr. Armstead a little bit later, but thank you, Dr. Armstead, for sponsoring today's episode. So today's episode, y'all know it comes from a TikTok video that's been hot last week or this week, and there's a lot of discussion on my own TikTok page about this video. And it's the video of the teacher in the classroom that's recording the kids. So the teacher props her phone up and she says in her caption, like, I'm so tired of being disrespected and mistreated by these kids. And the kids are off to the side just having a conversation amongst themselves. You can tell it's some bullying. You can tell it's some type of foolishness going on with the kids. But the teacher turns this whole video around, centers herself, plays victim, posts for views, posts for likes. She has a bunch of teachers in the audience commenting on her video, coming to her defense with her misleading story. And I think the thing that got me about this video was how it took a million comments for the teacher to come back and say, you know what, hey guys, they're not talking to me. But everybody in the comments was basically calling the kids animals, just saying all kinds of things about these kids. And she was riding with it because she was being the victim. So I kind of want to talk about that because that video led to a lot of other discussion on the page about the mistrust that Black and brown students have for white teachers and just why there is no true allyship. So we're going to talk about that today. I have some very special guests that's going to join me today. I got Doc, and Doc is a PhD in education with a focus on social justice education. Then I got my friend Angela. Y'all know I do aliases on the show, but Angela is a master's in educational leadership, and her focus was also social justice education for Black and brown students. So, hey, y'all.
Hey.
All right, so did y'all see that video? What's y'all thoughts on that video? Doc, what you got?
Well, for me, it's just like, why are you recording the students? And so I just have an issue with using our students for content, especially in that way. So it turning into this whole victimization of the teacher thing, but it's like, why were you recording them to begin with? And so you're mentioning that it took her a while to come in and say, oh, well, they're not talking to me. Well, you tried to make it look like that. Mm-hmm. And so it's just like, how are we really framing the narrative around our students? And if you're going to put them on display like that, like, how is that a positive thing? What did you really get out of that? Mm-hmm. What about that makes you a better teacher? What about that makes them better people? So it's like, for me, I'm like, what was the point of all this?
And I think the point was to be centered as the victim. I get all of the likes because, oh, y'all look at me. I'm in despair. Look at these kids. They're so wild. And this is what we go through. Victim, which kind of goes into the whole white women role. Mm-hmm. That's what they're historically known for, as being the victim. I'm going to get all of society to therefore look at all kids who look like this as you are a aggressor. You're an animal all the time.
Mm-hmm. So one comment, I did a stitch on the video, and somebody that follows me made a comment that, well, she was recording for documentation. She's scared. And I was like, what the hell is she scared of? She's sitting at her desk. She's not scared. And then it led me to the whole, why are you teaching students you scared of?
Boom.
And I said, that's a whole nother topic to get into, because that did lead us into another topic. Like, what's your purpose of being in these schools of kids that you're scared of? Is it the saviorship deal? Is it to get your loans paid off? Is it because Teach for America told you that you need to do 2 years in the hood to be able to go to law school? It's just so many things about that. But that was one thing that just drove me, was the whole, she's scared for documentation. And I said, documentation for what? If I want to document something, I'm not going to prop my phone up, press record, and use my students for content, like you said, because so many people were saying, well, she wasn't really using it for content. She was using it for documentation. No, baby, if you're using it for documentation, we would never even know this video existed.
Exactly.
You posted it to TikTok for likes and views and to be the victim. Like, this is why I'm leaving. And her caption was like, this is why I'm leaving and going back to grad school. I just can't take this anymore. And it's like, girl, you're doing too much. You're doing too much. So back to content, you made a good point about using students for content. I saw another video about that this morning. When is it okay to use students for content on social media? Is it ever okay?
I just don't. Well, maybe because, like, I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, y'all don't even have to know I'm in education on my social media. So don't get worried about all that. But I think if we're in this business to help children, I'm not using the children for negative content if I'm going to use it. Because if I'm going to do that, then again, I'm spearheading a particular type of narrative. And so why do the work if you don't like the work? If you don't like the children or love the children, then keep them out of your social media. Like, I just honestly do not get that. I do understand not wanting to do it anymore, and that's your prerogative and that's your opinion. If you don't want to do this anymore, fine. You had a terrible experience, fine. But you don't need to exploit our children to get that message across because who cares? But, many of us started when Facebook was just coming out.
Yeah.
And so we don't have this audience that we feel like we have to put everything out there. So when we've had negative experiences prior to that we've learned to grow through because now we have experience, we didn't have that avenue. So a lot of folks, especially within that particular generation, I got to put it all out there. And I got to tell you why, and I got to do this, and I got to do that. When it's like, nah, sis, actually you don't.
Right.
You can just leave silently and go do whatever it is that you wanted to do other than be around our kids.
Right.
I think something else that gets me, we always see us acting up. And especially when it's put out there. And I hate it. Sometimes people send me so many videos and I'm like, damn, I'm tired of talking about us. Like every video is about us. And I feel like, I think, I'm a conspiracy theorist. I think everything is a setup and everything is about race. But I feel like we know, because we worked and we work currently in a diverse situation. And so we know, hey, they cutting up too. Don't ever for a second get to thinking that they not cutting up. But it's always us that's recording and us that's being posted on social media and us getting the whole animal feral. I hate that comment. Like, oh, they said these students are feral. Because I feel like that's dog whistle too. But it's always us being shown that. And I'm like, y'all have no idea the type of discipline that y'all kids doing on the other end. Exactly. Things that can't be posted on social media. But it's high. It's heavy in things. Oh, who's just calling me? Sorry, y'all. But it's heavy on the list of infractions. So I don't know. What you got?
I think it's always us because we are valuable. We are an asset in every avenue, whether it comes to music, sports, any form of entertainment. And now when it comes to the media, even social media, we're used as a marketing tool there. Everybody uses us for clickbait. It's not as entertaining when you see Billy and Emily do it, just because they're just not as marketable. Now, if we want to go into a whole nother segment and talk about like school shootings and stuff, they're marketable. But when it comes to pushing the narrative of you are wild, out of control, that's going to be our thing. If it's going to go to the issue of pushing negative music, any type of negative agenda, they know we are the go-to. People are going to click it. Racism is prevalent. So Black people are going to watch it. And even those who hate us are going to watch it because then it justifies their feelings already.
And it gives them, that's the open invitation I always say, for them to be open and blatantly racist, because when the comments go, the comments be going.
Yes.
And they feel, because let's say, for instance, I posted a video this morning of a little Black boy that snatched his phone out of his teacher's hand and put his hand around his teacher's neck. And just because I posted a video showing y'all, hey, this is what's happening when teachers take phones. So let's go back to the teachers taking phones. And I make a video that says simply, hey, teachers, choose your battles. Like, this is not worth you getting assaulted. We take that video and it turns into everybody thinking like, oh, it's an open door, open season from us to come in and start talking about race and Black kids and out of control and lack of parenting and all these things. And it's like, nah, that's not where I was going with this. But since y'all going there, now we got the door open and let's talk about it. But Something else, I posted another stitch of that video where this creator, her name is Breezy Fox. When I tell y'all I love Breezy Fox, Breezy be getting bitches together. She gets them together. And she broke down something that I didn't even think of. You know, we think of it because it's something we do every day, but I'm like, damn, I didn't even think of it in context of this video. Like culturally responsive teaching, knowing your who. And if you and we were sitting in the classroom, we heard this dismissal 1 minute to the bell, and we're sitting there chilling, and the kids are engaged in conversation amongst themselves, and we hear it go to a level. We know where it's going or where it's not going based on the language that the students are using. And I think it's also important, if you're going to put yourself in a position where you're teaching in a school of mostly or predominantly Black and brown students, that you know the jargon, you know the language, because everything is not threatening, all right? Somebody said, oh, that's cap. And somebody in my comments was like, yeah, somebody said that's cap. And the teacher ran talking about somebody was threatening to bust a cap. We were like, girl, what?
Says that?
What? Nobody says that anymore. It's so like 1980, 1990 Ice Cube, bust a cap.
My nephew is 6, and he knows what cap means.
Yeah.
So where have you been?
So, but just that simple little silly stuff like that, that's important. So if this teacher knew what was going on and she heard what was going on, Breezy Fox said, like, this little girl is in distress. This little girl is saying, hey, I have a right to, my mom said I could beat your ass, right? So, but when the teacher put it out there like that, everybody heard, oh my God, the student is threatening to beat the teacher's ass. It's like, no, she's telling this person who obviously has been bothering her for however long that, hey, I'm letting you know, I'm giving you a warning that if you hit me, my mom says it's okay for me to throw hands on you. But the world took that as, no, she threatened. It's like, nah, it really wasn't a threat. It was like a promise. Like, I'm just telling you what's about to go down if you put your hands on me, because I'm tired of it. And Breezy Fox is like, you can hear the conviction. This girl's coming from her soul. Like, I'm tired. And while the teacher is censoring herself, playing victim at her desk with the phone propped up, in no way, time ever did she get up to go de-escalate the situation.
Exactly.
And nowhere in that video did she get up and say, let me talk to this baby and see what's going on. Or say, hey, come here and talk to me and tell me what's going on. It was all about you. Meanwhile, this baby is getting called an animal, getting called all these things on the internet, and nobody still has helped her.
Victimized her.
Further. And we still haven't given her any help.
When you actually had the opportunity, since you want to be the white savior, you had the opportunity to actually do it at that moment and use your platform to go and help this girl. You then decided, I'm going to take a step back. And I'm going to make this about me instead of about the child, in which I'm actually employed to care about that child.
But you already checked out, because you said in your caption, like, this is why I can't wait to be done and go to grad school. You already checked out. Why are you here? I always say that, like,
She used her days.
you use your days. Now you gotta struggle. Like, I always say, I wish, some people make a joke about, man, we need to go back to segregation. And I'm like, ooh, sheesh, that's so deep. We talk about that. We talk about that later. But I always say, even where we work, you clearly are unhappy. You clearly don't want to be here teaching these kids. Why are you here? And you're doing more harm than you are good to them. So why show up every day? Don't tell me you're showing up because you got bills to pay and you got student loans to pay and you got a family to feed. Go do something else to do that other than sit here, be miserable, and harm our students in the process.
But then you mentioned something like, okay, why are folks there? Teaching our kids in certain areas, it wasn't always our kids there. So you do have some folks who do have an issue that now you're over here because we left where y'all used to be, and we're here, and now y'all coming around here in quote, and we'll talk about that, quote, loud music and hats to the back and things of that nature. Folks use code words to Black people moving into our neighborhood. So you have folks that are like, we came here because we thought we were going to teach X, Y, and Z, and then here y'all came here.
Right.
And now, so folks mad.
Oh, they big
because
mad.
we here.
We here.
And we not going anywhere.
You know, when we left the place that we were in one school district, and we were hired en masse, right? Because originally, traditionally, we were not there.
Exactly.
There were no us. And then all of a sudden, houses started coming up, and it was a bunch of us. A bunch of our cousins moved in, but the teachers were still not us. So it was that 1 year, they hired a bunch of us
They said, we need y'all.
We need y'all. Y'all come get y'all cousins. Y'all cousins out here wilding. Come get them.
We don't know what to do.
We don't know what to do. And then the next year, they hired even more of us to come out. But even though we were there, we were in the building, their mindsets never changed. Their mindset was still old, traditional, red state, blah, 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 without saying too much. Their mindset was still that. And we had the discipline. Do you remember I think I talked about this on TikTok. We did a PD one day in the summer when we first got to the school. And it was a data dig on discipline. Do you remember that? They had us in the cafeteria.
Oh, yes, I do.
And they had us in stations. So they had all the TA disciplinary reports from the school from the prior year before we got there.
Those taper reports?
Yeah. And they were like, hey, we want y'all to go through and do a data dig and tell us what you noticed. Right? And so we looking, now mind you, we come from the trap, me and her. And this now me and you came from the trap, but we came from the suburban trap. Right. But me and you was in South Park together. But we came from the trap of Missouri City together, okay? And saying, so we looking like, oh, we see what time it is right here. We're looking, okay, look at race. We break down the dim pops. All right, it's the black kids, it's the black boys. Okay, so now somebody asked, I can't remember who it was, after we talked about what we observed, what did you notice, but y'all that bullshit that make you go through. And somebody had the genius mind to ask, can we see what the kids were written up for?
Boom.
And
who wrote them up?
The principal was like, okay, yeah. So he's scrambling on the computer, on the projector, trying to pull it up, and we see stuff like, student didn't have a pencil. Student was out of dress code. Student told me to shut up. Student, stupid stuff, level 1 to the 10th power, but they're getting written up. And so what does it do to your discipline? What does it do to your data? And I said, that's why y'all hired us. Y'all hired us because y'all really did need us. And I think, they still do need us.
Yeah, exactly.
Desperately. And I'm like, okay, then we look at the black girls. Okay, what are they getting written up for? Talking back.
It's always
attitude.
that.
It's always attitude. And it's like, nah, is it attitude, or are you just not culturally aware of your who you got up in your classroom, and how everything is not an attitude? If I walk in because maybe my mama pissed me off because I didn't wash the dishes last night and my mama went off on me, and I walk in and you're at the door and I don't say good morning to you in a jolly, jovial way, you gonna say, I'm got an attitude, I'm being insubordinate? Or what if I don't want to participate in the math lab today? You gonna write me up for being insubordinate? Like, I had a bad day. But never did you question my bad day. You just questioned the fact that I didn't comply
to you.
Yeah. And I think that's a big issue that we need to discuss.
But okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just thinking about that same meeting that you are referring to. And that was also the same time, since we're talking about knowing your who. When the AP at the time made the comment and said, wow, considering our population, I'm so surprised how many kids actually live with their mom and dad.
Babe, I would have loved.
And I looked to the left and to the right, and I'm like, did y'all hear this? Is this legal? Did he just say this?
That's the mentality that they had and have. It's that old traditional country. I don't even know how to describe it. But how everything comes out of their mouths and they don't realize how wrong it is. And I say that because I don't think that a lot of them are intelligent.
And not.
They're not. I think sometimes you use your privilege to get in your position. Not saying that doesn't discount your degree or your certification, but I feel like at some point they were handing them out on eBay because everybody was like, girl, how you get, because you don't know. You can't compose a sentence. How are you the leader of the school?
We all know mediocrity is supported in the culture.
My goodness.
We're taught to be excellent, but mediocre is always.
Yes.
That's the bar.
And I'm like, okay, y'all, the stuff that comes out of y'all mouth is wild. And so now, and we're going to get into this later too, because when you say something flip and I come back as an adult at you, how the victimized tears come out. But we're going to talk about that in a minute. But let's talk about how when the students are constantly picked on, and when they finally say, you know what, nah.
I'm done.
I'm about to let you have it because I'm tired. We see that. We see that a lot when something like, I'm gonna say dress code because I always talk about dress code.
That's a whole episode.
That's a whole episode. and I get so many hate comments because I'm always that teacher. You know, I get in trouble at work about that. I am not, baby, I'm not here to argue with you about dress code. And I think it's because of where we came from. And I always make videos and talk about Mr. Bill Sorrells and how
the
best,
Love
okay?
him.
How our priority was getting them there and keeping them there. So what they looked like when they got there, that was not number one. Now, once we got you there, he had a relationship with you where he could check, okay, I'm gonna check you about blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But I'm not harassing you and making you not want to come to school because of what you have on. And I think also what puts me in that mindset now is, remember, we had kids where we had to wash your clothes. You know, we were surrounded by washaterias, and so it was they couldn't afford the money to the washateria.
And sometimes the uniform was all they had anyway, so it
uniform
was
was
nothing
it.
we had to address.
That was it. But even when that was dirty, and so I remember this kid we had. This was before they started doing, or I think they were still doing. Were they doing social promotion? I can't remember. But we had a kid that was like 16, eighth grade.
Child, yeah.
Name started with a D.
I might not have taught that.
Okay.
Look, depends on what year that was.
Yeah, boy, that's true. And Mom had a real bad addiction. She had a bad habit. And he had 2 siblings at the elementary across the street. And everything was on him. Everything was on him. So getting the kids to school, you know, making sure their clothes and stuff like that were clean. If mom took the money and, you know, had to deal whatever with the money, and there was no money for groceries, or there were no money for washateria. And I remember Miss Wright, I'm gonna say her name because I could say her name. What am I writing her name for? But anyway, I remember one day she called him in the classroom and she was like, "Hey, on Fridays," because you remember we had like free dress a little bit on Fridays. So on Fridays, you bring your laundry and them little girls, because 2 sisters bring their laundry in here to me on Fridays. You could come early, bring it on Fridays, and she would hurry up, take it home over the weekend, wash it, so that on Monday they all had clean clothes for the week.
That sounds like something is right.
And so when I'm still in that mindset, right? I don't give a damn about if you got on a hoodie or if you got on tights or if you got on Crocs and slides. I don't care, because I'm happy that you're here. My goal is to keep you here and not make you feel like you're not welcomed and wanted here. But when we talk about how they police these kids, they police their dress code, they police their bodies, and then when these kids snap, they in trouble now. They in trouble. How many times have we seen a fight about a hoodie? How many times have we seen a fight about a hoodie? It's control.
Or the back of your Crocs.
The back of your Crocs.
Oh, y'all can actually wear them?
Yeah.
Oh, it's not even allowed.
Oh, wow.
No, nobody over where I'm at.
Well, you got to remember what
Teachers,
we are.
Everybody, yeah.
Well, we are. The parents run it. It's the district of privilege. And so you dare not tell these parents that they can't do something, because they're going to be quick to tell you they pay $15,000 a year in taxes.
So we going to wear what
we gonna wear what we want to wear.
No.
They bully. They some bullies. They some bullies.
And no Crocs happening where I'm at.
And we wear them too. As a matter of fact, I wear Crocs every day.
It's in the handbook.
I wear Crocs to work every day.
Are not considered professional. Ooh. It was like the kids can't wear them, and neither can you.
I wear Crocs
I at least
to work
appreciate that. They were like, well, none of y'all.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Fine. Seems like whoever at the top said no.
Yeah. I wear them every day, but it was at one point I would just keep a pair under my desk and then just wear them, and now it's like I just wear. I'm here. I'm here. That's all I could do. I could just get up and come. That's all I could do. But back to discipline. So when you talk about little things like that spark, that I think opens Pandora's box when you talk about discipline. I mentioned last week or week before last, my kid goes to school with me, my baby, and she had on a hoodie, on her head. And I guess she didn't, she got this wild hair, and she didn't press the hair. The humidity didn't act right with the silk press. I don't know what happened that day, but she had a hood on her head. Now, you know you're damn good well you're not supposed to have a hood on your head, okay? So let's, first of all, you know what the rules are. But this one teacher who, I tell you, I got beef with. I don't care. I just got beef with her. I don't know what made her so comfortable. She just walked up and snatched the hoodie off my baby's head. And in the process, I kind of like yanked and pulled her hair with it.
Lord.
And I was like, whoa. And my daughter turned to the lady and was like, my mama not gonna like this. You already know this. And you wouldn't say that, because she started talking trash to her. And she said, you wouldn't say that if my mama was standing right here, right? And so instead of addressing what she had done, what did she try to write my baby up for?
Talking back.
defending herself. And when in theory, you kind of low-key just kind of assaulted her.
You did.
And you know I'm upstairs. You know I'm a fool. You know I'm upstairs. But it's that,
Wait.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
y'all
Run
the
that back.
same- Y'all in the same
Run it
building?
back. We're in the same building.
Oh my God.
We're in the same building. But it's the power and the control that you think you have.
But I'm gonna need you to know better. I'm gonna need you to know me better than that.
You-
think that you about to get away with
But
it.
now you know. Now you know.
Okay.
But because now you know you the victim and I'm the aggressive person. I'm the aggressive, angry black woman.
Oh, okay.
But I say that
That's great.
we can't touch these kids to make them comply. And especially when we have kids that already, for whatever reason, that was another topic that came about. Why don't they trust us? And I say, hey, that's historical. We've been taught from grandmas, great grandmas, and aunties, mamas not to trust y'all. So when you come in and you're giving us the reason, you're doing the same things, the very exact actions that we've been taught to watch for. What makes you think that's going to help build your relationship, build your allyship in our classrooms and in our environments? They're not. Because what in your right mind makes you think that in order to get a kid to comply, you have to put your hands on them?
And that's the thing about relationships,
Mm-hmm.
because there are certain things
The
that
relationship
certain things I can do and say to one kid that I can't do and say to that kid. So if me and you have a relationship, girl, take that off.
Yeah.
And you know what? You're not gonna say nothing crazy to me because me and you got it like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Or I know your mama, and we didn't have the conversation. She know I don't mean a certain thing when I
right.
do that to you. And then you have other folks like they want that relationship, and you ain't got it.
You ain't got it.
And that's, I mean, you might not ever have it. And you just gonna have to live with that. But it's like you just don't do certain. It's just certain stuff you're not supposed to do anyway. But if you don't have an understanding like that with a student, don't do it.
Yeah.
Because, you know, sometimes like sarcasm. Yeah, I can use sarcasm
Right.
with certain kids.
Right.
Because we have a relationship.
And then
But you
others
use
will-
it.
and I'm guilty of that. Like sarcasm is my love language.
Thank
if
you.
I say, you know, get your big head up out of here. Boy, I can't even see the boy because you just standing there. That's, I love you. And we
Yeah.
can laugh about it. But then, you know, some other kids, you going to cry. And I have to recognize that, okay.
And you're going to get a
Yeah, I
four-page
found
letter
out.
email.
I'm going to get a
Or a
dissertation,
call. Yeah.
you know, about how my child is not comfortable with you. So
they
let
go
me
straight to the board before they come for you.
So let me not
Yeah.
do that. But, you know, I think with the whole relationship building, I think part of the issue with certain populations is they don't know what the work looks like. And they think that just because in their mind, my intentions are good, so this should be a natural process. You should know my heart and you should know that, well, I did not mean it like that. And so, like, even with my kids, I talk about, you know, being passive aggressive, and then also the difference between you can have a bias and may not actually be racist.
Yeah.
And so a lot of these other people don't realize that their biases come across very strong, and then our kids internalize that as you are racist, and now our relationship is forever severed because I view you as racist. I told you that I felt that way, and you never addressed it because you just decided that, again, you were the victim.
Yeah.
I'm not racist. And even with that, I mean, I go hard for my Black students all day, every day. And I feel like, hey, this is my journey. I done been through personal stuff to help me get to this point with my own son.
I want
With
to talk about
him,
that.
you know, 4th grade saying, hey, my teacher racist. And we like, okay, well, what's she do? What's she do? Having conversations with the assistant principal. Yeah, it is a group of kids saying that she's racist. Well, why is that? Well, come to find out, because we're like in November and you're still getting all of the Black boys' names mixed up. You're still sending home notes with another kid's name on it, telling me all of the bad stuff that kid did. And I have to email you and say, were you really talking about my child, or did you put this in the wrong bag? And you're really genuinely confused on who you are talking about, because in your mind, all these little Black boys look alike.
And they act alike.
You know, and then another topic, which goes into why are you there? You know, for me, my experience is looking at the teacher and saying, ugh, you got PWI all over you. I know what your educational upbringing was. And I'm looking at this school and I'm like, oh Lord, you came here to all of these educated parents of HBCU, like you teaching HBCU type kids, and you
you
don't
don't know.
have no connection with that.
Mm.
So now when you with these GT boys and girls,
I was just about to say this was a GT class
This
full
is
of
a
little black
baby.
boys.
GT class with black boys and girls, and you don't understand what their excitement even looks like. You villainize their excitement. When they're excited, ooh, I got 100. I hop up out my seat. Yes, man, y'all ain't getting no 100 like me. Oh my God, you're being disruptive. You know the rules. You know the rules. I'm gonna have to write you up. And they like, dang, I was just trying to say, I was just telling my friend that I got 100 and he got 82 and she wrote me up.
That's crazy.
So, yeah, you racist in my mind. Instead of saying, hey, well, I know you're really excited, but how about, let's celebrate this way if you just so uncomfortable with the way, y'all know how we do. Well,
Or can I give you 10 seconds? All right, baby, you got 100. Let's go. Give you 10 seconds to celebrate. Can you adapt? Can you
Yes.
adjust?
But a kid making 100 makes you look good. So why are you tripping?
Because in your mind, they're not being compliant. You want quiet. You want them to sit.
So
you
what
want
are you
structure.
there for? That's
Why
the
are
other
you
question.
there?
Why are you there? Because if I give us, obviously, maybe the kid doesn't make 100 all the time. And if somebody, or maybe they do, and it's the 10th 100, and
I'm
still
still
excited. So if I give a kid a grade and they're excited about it, I've done my job. One, because I'm good at what I do in terms of the content, but I've done my job that a kid is excited about school. So that's why I'm like, what? Because that's weird to me. Just not even on some, you don't understand the black culture. That's weird that you're a teacher and you would try to shut down excitement about excellence. Well, maybe.
But you were
maybe
a
it's part of that
first.
conversation.
This was a first year teacher, right?
First year teacher.
Straight out the stage from a PWI. Okay, not too much more.
Not too much on
Not too much because
I ain't
go
gonna
cool.
come for y'all too hard.
Go
I
cool.
ain't gonna for
Go
y'all too
cool.
hard.
Went to a few. Go cool. UCLA.
I got
Okay.
one under my
Okay.
belt.
but that's something else. When you put these, and I call them kids, you put these kids fresh off the stage that only got their experience from the textbook, the courses, all right? No real life experience. This was their first first performance, opening that. And you really don't know, because even if you did a couple of hours of student teaching, you did your student teaching in an area that was conducive to your instruction,
Then why
to
you
your
just
learning.
didn't stay over there?
You should, but because guess what? Nobody, they ain't
not
really hiring you.
because they
like
not
that.
quitting.
They not quitting. They ain't really
They not
high because you're
quitting.
not special in their book.
Especially elementary.
You're not special in their book. You just real regular in their book. But you come over here and you fresh off the stage and you bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and eager. And why would they give you this class? It's crazy. But I want to go more into your story because I know your story. And your story was probably one of the main reasons I go as hard as I go for the kids in, our districts around the Houston area. Because that started out small like that and it ended up going into something bigger. And so when I talk about how teachers with this mindset, this mentality, and administrators that uphold this mentality and board members that uphold this mentality, how they all equally contribute to the school to prison pipeline.
Yes.
Your story, every time I think about it, is a prime example of how early it starts.
And this is exactly why a lot of, I'll say black kids in general, but more so boys, they tapped out by the time they get to middle school. Because I've already been beat down in elementary. You've already punished me so much that I feel like my excellence is not appreciated. I am not appreciated. So therefore, in order for me to exist in this system, I just need to skate. I just need to do bare minimum because bare minimum gets me not talked to. I don't have to worry about you gonna call me in the office for doing this or doing that. I'm not on your radar. That's their coping mechanism, which that goes into a psychology issue now that you've now put our kids in a position at 11, 12 years old that they feel like this is my coping mechanism to deal with school because I cannot trust the people who my parents have entrusted me to.
And made me go to.
Yes.
Made me.
And so with my story, I I go back to this whole thing that I learned in doing my research during this process, that there was actually a campaign years ago that was pushed out like in the urban schools that says, now that you are 10.
Ooh. You remember that program? You never had to do so. Now that you're 10, is a program where they have the police officers come into the schools and have an assembly with everybody that's like 5th grade, right? That basically tells you now that you are 10, you can be charged with crimes.
What?
Yeah.
In Texas.
In Texas. That's a law. So now that you are 10, we do that. I know the elementary schools do the program. I remember when I was teaching elementary school, that was a thing. Now that you are 10. Oh, you never taught elementary?
Well, I taught 5th grade, but it was always middle school,
Oh, okay.
intermediate.
Okay.
So I'm like, now that you're, I've never heard of this.
Anyway, go ahead. But it's where the school cops or the local PDs come in and basically bully and intimidate the kids and say, hey, now that you're 10,
I can arrest you.
I can arrest you. I can charge you. And you can probably be charged as an adult depending on the crime that you commit. And you can go to jail and blah, blah, blah. But carry on. I'm sorry.
Yes. So, and talking about, this whole little experience, hey, my child is being victimized. Victim and villainized for being excited about being a smart kid. It's just, a number of just things just kept happening. Like, he's a problem. He's doing this, he's doing that. And it happens so much. And I hate for us as parents sometimes, we just trust what's being told sometimes. And it's like, okay, you're with my child most of the day than I am. And so now the little time that I do have home with my kid, I'm fussing at them about some stuff that I didn't even see. I don't even know that it actually happened like that. One day my kid had a assignment and it was, look at this picture. And it's a real known picture of like, I want to say like maybe the 1920s. A man sitting on like a beam with a hard hat, swinging his legs. He's like working on a high rise.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
And the kids were told to write what you think is going on or what is going on through this person's head at the time. My child wrote, I think he's trying to kill himself because ain't no way nobody will be sitting up there swinging their legs. They sent him to the office and said that we were concerned because he's making
suicidal ideation.
I cannot remember the terminology that they used, but it was just concerning for them. And then when I'm like, okay, what exactly? Because during the phone calls, I'm not getting the logistics of it. So I'm asked. So when he finally comes, I'm like, what did you say? And he's like, well, that was crazy because you could have committed suicide. Now, that's the type of culture that we have. We like, boy, don't do no crazy stuff like that. You don't go swinging up like, you going to hurt yourself and ain't nobody taking you to the hospital. You must be trying to kill yourself. But you so culturally unaware, you didn't even think to ask the question of why did he write, oh, it looks like he's trying to kill himself. Now, you think my child is suicidal because he's seeing suicide, but there's something bigger into that. So that's just one issue. But things just go on and on. One day, I told y'all, all of the little black boys in the class, they think this teacher is racist, initially anyway. She's taking off days and she's crying. The assistant principal and principal are mentoring her. They've admitted, the kids are just so hard on her. They keep calling her racist. And we sat in on the class and she's not racist. And I'm like, how does you sitting in on a class give you the thoughts that someone's not racist? But nonetheless.
Because she performed while you were in there. But
exactly.
Anyway.
So one day, and this happened in November. And by the way, my kid had just turned 10. How ironic. He had just turned 10. He and his friends had got picked on for something. And then they started having a conversation about, oh, we hate this teacher. Now, we all know. Kids say this all the time. We hate her. Now, keep in mind, this is a little GT class, so we know their minds they go out a little bit.
They know a little bit more.
So my kid makes a comment and says, I got cousins in the military. And my cousin, I think he killed people in the military. Man, I bet if we put her on the list, he would get her too.
Oh, Lord.
because he worked for the government
Oh my God.
and he get paid to do that.
Oh my God.
Was he watching Scandal?
Or Homeland. What's that with Brody?
B613, whatever he's
With Brody.
And so in a normal situation, you know, if a teacher hears this, they're like, boy, first of all, the government ain't finna pay nobody to come get your teacher because she mean to you.
Thank you.
That would
Nobody
be-
worried about me like that.
That would be a normal conversation, but it did not happen that day. That day, the police were called on my son for making a terroristic threat. So I'm so confused because I'm like, wait a minute. In my mind, he ain't even threatened to kill you. Number two, this is a 10-year-old talking about his cousin works for the military. Like, and you're really taking this as a valuable threat. My phone call was, yes, we did. And the city police are on their way. We've already contacted the district attorney and they're accepting charges. This is all during the middle of the day.
While you at work teaching.
While I'm teaching.
For y'all.
For y'all.
But he didn't say my cousin lived down the street.
No, right. Not my cousin Pookie.
Ray is not to come over here. He didn't say Ray who lived
If he would have said Ray Ray, then I
was like, oh, okay, wait a minute.
But my cousin in the government.
my cousin
Secret Service.
Yes.
Is worried about you.
Yes. So, mind you, when we were talking about before how, hey, our kids are taught early on, hey, you don't trust, these people. So they called my son in, hey, it was reported that you said this. Did you say this? He like, no, I ain't say that. I don't know what you're talking about. So they like, okay, we going to get another tactic. We going to get some more students to come in here. He like, no, I ain't say that. So now they decide, let's flip the script. Let's get the counselor to talk to him.
Without you.
That's something like, wait.
All of this has
occurred.
occurred before the phone call was even made to me.
Oh, wow.
There we go.
All of this occurred. So the counselor then comes in and says, hey, we all make mistakes. And, when I was little, I made mistakes. And when I told the truth, I didn't even get in trouble for it.
God.
So sometimes it's just best if you tell the truth because you really won't get in as much trouble. So, unfortunately, he fell for it and said, yeah, I did say that. But I didn't really mean it. We was just playing. As soon as he said that, the police were outside of the door and they were ready.
Y'all law and ordered that, baby.
Real fast. Let me pause right quick. Let me give another shout out to the sponsor, Dr. Armstead, Afro teacher, author of Different and Deficient, How Education Can Make People Believe That Different is Bad. Book on Amazon, perfect book for what we're talking about. So again, that's Different and Deficient. So what happened after the cops? What was next?
After the cops, okay, so I get to the school. The cops then question me, and they're like, we want to know, do you have family members in the military? And I'm like, I'm thinking, this can't be real. I was like, well, we a military family. Like, who don't have people in their family who in the military? Well, this is what was said. And I'm like, I'm laughing because I'm like, but y'all really serious. Y'all asking me if my military family is going to come down here and put a hit out on the teacher. The principal then says, well, you're lucky I'm forgiving because what if I told my family what you said and then they would want to do something to you?
Girl.
Now, if you would have came across that table.
Now, everybody been going to jail that day. The privilege, that principal.
Yes, this was the principal at the time. So, so much happened from there, y'all. Going to lawyers, doing the whole court proceeding, learning so much about the public school system and what your legal rights are for a lot of things. Mm-hmm. Like, of course, the case ended up getting thrown out, but They did arrest my child at 10. They did take him away from me, and he spent a night without his family inside of a juvenile detention center with 14, 15, and 16-year-olds. He was the youngest person there. Before they released him, they wanted him to do anger management, wanted him to do drug testing, all kinds of crazy stuff. But of course, it did end up getting dismissed. The lawyer was like, wow. And amazingly, the lawyer wasn't one of us. And he was like, this is some bullshit right here. Like, what's going on? But he was a military person himself. So he was like, I just can't believe this is what, we doing right now. But in that process, I did learn that there's this thing about the number 10.
Oof.
Because 10 is the age that you can be arrested. And also, had we been aware, the whole process that they did was it was unethical. It was not by procedure. Everything was wrong. But we had 10 days to appeal that to the board, the school board, and the whole thing would have been dropped from there. Didn't know that rule. Nobody communicates that. So I think that's like a lack of awareness on our culture that we need to know when we're sending our kids to all of these institutions. We need to know everything. Because they do hide all of the knowledge in the book.
Everything.
All of those thick handbooks that we get for everything, student code of conduct, the parent code of all of that. We need to be sitting there with a fine-tooth comb and some sticky notes and a highlighter to get it together to know how to protect our kids. The other part of that, with, of course, him being arrested, they were kicking him out of school. I did do an appeal to an assistant superintendent who then made a comment to me and said, well, he just has to accept he's a man now, and you got to deal with those consequences.
He's a man at 10 years old.
And I'm looking like, where's the man at?
Yeah.
You talking about his daddy? You want to arrest his daddy for what he did? I mean.
Let me stop to say that I got to remind, or let me tell the audience that you are married. You and your husband were going through this process because I didn't want the audience to think that this was a single mom going through this process without.
Y'all
without
like to
husband.
tussle.
Y'all like to tussle.
Right?
Y'all like to say we ain't got no man.
Dad was there 100% of the way, fighting everything. So I'm giving both of our experiences together because he was a mouthpiece as well at the time because I was pregnant. So I was so emotional, crying throughout the process for everything. So Dad was there. Dad sat in on this meeting and Dad gave a look. And then that's when the assistant superintendent kind of stepped back and he was like, well, that's not what I meant.
That's exactly what you meant.
And we're like, no, you said what you said.
Yeah. That's exactly what you meant. And that's how we're seen. That's it's so difficult when being on social media and seeing people, when certain things happen to one demographic, it's, oh, they're just a kid or they're just a teenager. But when something happens with us, it's they're an adult. They're a man. And that's how we're seen. Our Black boys are always seen as men. Y'all remember the whole school shooting incident of the 6-year-old, right? When everybody thought that this kid was of a different hue, it was still bad that you did what you did. But once the mama came out and did the interview and we saw that the mama looked like us, it was, this was premeditated. This was da-da-da. And I'm like, whoa. Wait, just
Wait, I didn't even know that.
Yeah. Just last week, the frontal cortex or frontal lobe, whatever y'all be saying, wasn't
even fully developed.
But now that it's one of us, everything developed. They're men. It was premeditated. They need to learn how to regulate their emotions. Like they knew, they were fully aware. And I hate that that's how our kids are always seen.
But that's even, I know this is an educational platform, but that's even how it's seen in the medical industry. Because when our boys, perhaps they are, or not, let me not just say boys, but when our kids are going through something and they do go seek like professional help and counseling because their temporal lobe is not fully developed, y'all know all of that stuff. They'll get the labels from the doctor's office. Oh, you have
oppositional
defiance. This is a psychosis. You have early onset symptoms of schizophrenia. All of that type of stuff. That's happening early on to these kids. But then when it's the other side, it's, we can do some talk therapy.
Yeah.
Come twice a week. I think in 6 months, little Billy will be fine. But now you've drugged Ray up. And now you've put him on medications at an early age, and now his whole mind is messed up while he's still in elementary school over some stuff that really could have been handled if somebody talked to him.
Somebody talked to him. I think even going back to your situation and other situations that we experience as educators in the system, when we talk about policy and procedure, and how when we always are screaming the policy and the procedures is not fair. They're just not fair. They're not equitable. And people like to say, well, the rule is the rule. This is written in policy. This is what it is. But it's like, nah, yeah, that's true. But we're screaming, telling y'all we see it every day, how that's not. People break the policy and break the rules for who they want to, when they want to. Because I remember probably a year before your situation happened, we had a situation with a little girl who made a threat. Oh, she made the threat of all threats to campus. And before you knew it, the DA had picked up the charges, and the school administrator, one of us, okay, had called her daddy, who was a former administrator in this district, and said, hey, they about to come arrest her. Come get her. Right? It's always us, okay? We always protecting everybody else and no nobody protect us. But that child didn't have to go through the shame of being arrested at school and walked out on campus because they got the protection, right? Yeah, to go turn yourself in. And immediately after, okay, I swear immediately after, all of a sudden we got paperwork that said this child is not in special education for an emotional disturbance. I said, whoa. How did this happen? How did they jump the line of all the people that are waiting, testing, waiting on the eligibility? And because their daddy knows somebody that knows somebody in the district, everybody's protecting, covering. So that terroristic threat just went away?
Yep.
And not only that, you got to transfer schools. So all of your stuff just went away. And it was you, little white girl, you were given so much stress going on at the time. Oh, they started, cause like all of a sudden, all these magical things just started appearing. Anxiety. To give this kid all the reason of why they issued a terroristic threat against a whole entire campus. And it was
probably meant it.
And this kid was 14, 15. So baby, you was well beyond the now that you were 10. So your privilege and your complexion protected you. And that doesn't happen with us. And I say that all the time when I'm trying to argue with people about, y'all just love to say, don't bring up color. Everything's not about color. Baby, everything is about color.
It is. Yes, it is.
It's about color.
And sometimes it's not enough of us making sure that we protect us.
Because we too busy worried about protecting ourselves.
At first, when you was telling me the story, I was like, all right, so brother looked out for us.
No,
protecting ourselves and promotions.
Because
the assistant principal in my case was one of us.
Was one, yeah. And got promoted.
That's the thing.
And then the principal in this case got promoted.
Yep. And that's the struggle. Because even an entirely different conversation, not necessarily focused on kids, but like when we're in higher positions and there's so few of them, you have some of us who like, look, I got to do X, Y, and Z so I can keep this position, so I can keep my house and my Benz and my this and my that. So if I got to throw your black tail under the bus, I'm going to do it. And sometimes people, like, you don't realize that you are all part of this big old game in this system.
You're a pawn.
And you are put in a position to create opportunity for us, and you won't do it because you're afraid that you're going to lose yours. And that's still a systemic issue. And so it's so many of us who are, or they feel like if I do give you a job, give you a job.
Give you. Because you ain't,
then I gotta
your PhD ain't worth it.
That wasn't enough because, whatever. Or I'll give you a job, but then I'm going to still reinforce sexism and racism in that workplace in which you are, and you're supposed to just accept that. And I'm not the type to do that. I'm going to make it real difficult for you.
Yeah.
Hello.
Real uncomfortable.
All day.
Like, we have to do something better, like amongst ourselves, and creating like better coalitions because we need to be comfortable enough in those higher positions to do what's right when the time is right and not be afraid of losing our jobs. But we're still not there. And no matter how high we get up in the chain, because I've seen some people get knocked off the pedestal because they ain't want your black self.
Yeah.
Can I say that?
Yeah, you can say that.
They ain't want your black ass there to begin with.
Okay, look, I ain't know if we could take it there.
They didn't. And so it's like, what does it take? Because it's still their world.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. It's still their world. And like, how do you even navigate that? And I'm never making excuses for folks doing us dirty.
Never.
But then sometimes I'm just like, what is their thought process? And why are they afraid to do what's right? They're afraid to do what's right because the white people said, Negro, we put you here, do what we ask you to do because we're going to take it away.
Do what we tell you to do.
and they will take it away.
Yes.
And so at what point do we just get tired of it? And what does that look like?
I don't know what it looks like because I want to have y'all back next week to talk about another topic that stems from this. I'm available. But that stems from this because we do us so bad. We do us so bad.
And because we college educated.
We do us so bad. But is there, and I'm going to talk real quick before we close this or not, because I be telling people I'm going to get them out of here in 30, 45 minutes. But the conversations be so good.
We love you, girl.
I just can't. But have y'all seen a story? It took place, I guess, over the 2-3 days. And then today, the little black girl that showed up late to graduation rehearsal.
Yes.
Not late, but she had a family emergency and she didn't ride the rehearsal bus. She ended up having to get a ride for an hour away to get to the rehearsal location. She ended up beating the bus there, and the principal, white man, told her, nope, well, you can't participate in the ceremony at all.
That's
like
crazy
you're done
to me.
And it went so crazy. It went so crazy. And he was such an ass. And his voice, his tone, it was just so condescending when he was talking to this parent, or I think it was the girl's aunt. And the lady said, well, she's worked so hard because she graduated early. She actually finished her coursework in October. So this was just her walking. And the aunt is pleading, like, she worked so hard to get to this point. And he said, well, she needs to work hard one more time, and she didn't. So sorry. He was an ass. He was such an ass. And when I tell you social media got on him, social media got on that school. This is in Bryant, Arkansas. Bryant High School in Arkansas. Got on his ass. And the school district finally released a statement. And their statement, this is so crazy to me, it did not center her. It centered them. And it centered the principal. It went back to the whole, well, a rule is the rule. A rule is the rule. But because there was a miscommunication, we're going to go ahead and let her walk. And the miscommunication was that this parent, as they were arguing with the principal, this white girl got out of her car, her parents' car, and was allowed to go into the rehearsal and was not, her right to walk in the ceremony wasn't taken away. And so what the school district tried to come back and say, well, it was a prior arrangement. You're lying. You're lying. It was not a prior arrangement.
Even if it was, who cares?
Who cares?
Why are y'all wasting time?
And people are like,
understand.
And again, that goes back to the whole, like, are we adults or are we kids? Because everybody, the other people that thought like these people, I call them racist, people hate when I say racist on TikTok, but it is what it is, that were like, well, she's a teenager. She's old enough to get herself there. She's, no. Y'all think that every teenager got a car and go outside by themselves? In my mind, I'm thinking it shows grit, it shows tenacity that she got her butt up and found a way. Isn't that what we teach these kids? We teach them problem-solving skills. And she solved the problem. And because she didn't ask you for your permission to solve her problem, your power, your control is going to keep her from this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. That's not why we get an education. We teach lessons, but we don't teach lessons to hurt these kids.
Oh, but what you just said, I think goes into your statement about why when we get put into certain positions, aren't we doing the fight? And it's what you just said, because, hey, I'm provided this opportunity to problem solve on my own, but above you is I didn't give you permission to solve that problem like that.
I want you to solve it, but you didn't ask for my permission.
You didn't ask for my permission to solve it.
There we go.
So we're dealing with an issue that never essentially goes away from childhood. So even as adults, we're all working individuals. When you look at who's ahead of us, it's still like we are in a childlike state. Everything needs to be permission. I need to grant you the permission.
Permission to be great.
Yes.
And it's like her success, her finishing early, her success was just too much. And it's like, it reminds me of kind of the stuff I go through. You getting out of the box we put you in. And ain't nobody told you to get out that box. So get your black ass back in this box that we put you in, because who gave you permission to be great? Who gave you permission to be outspoken? Who gave you permission to be intelligent and successful? I did not. So get your ass back in that box.
Girl, and then that just reminds me of going flashback into my son, because it's like I felt like everything was by design because y'all didn't like him as a student. But apparently all of the other kids did because he was voted class president. So
they ain't like that.
They ain't like that.
You had some issues.
I'm surprised they ain't rigged that election.
I was surprised too. But then
I'm surprised.
you even tried to call conferences with other teachers to say how much of a problem he was, but he had one of us as a teacher too. And she came in a meeting and she said, I don't know what y'all talking about. I've never had a problem with a
Oh, I
child
know
a
they
day
got
before in my
her ass.
life.
I know
Like-
they probably made it miserable for her.
And I'm sitting there in the meeting, me and Dad, and we're looking at her, and it wasn't, I don't know, is this, because we talk about permission to use your power, because she used it. She sat in that meeting, and she looked back and forth, that head was turning like, am I in the right meeting? What
We
child
talking
are y'all
about the same
talking
child?
about? I ain't
Or
never
did you
had
get
an
it mixed
issue.
up again?
Hello. Did you
Get it mixed up again? So let's close out. But do we really rock with allyship?
Amongst each other?
Nah, when it comes to white teachers and students of color, we hear so many. I had so many comments like, "Well, I love all of my students. I love it, and everybody treats the same." And I'm like, you have good intentions. That sounds really good, but I don't think that y'all realize that there is a level of unconscious bias in all of us.
In all of us.
And own it, and that's
And
the
own it.
problem.
And it's okay for you to own it. And it's okay for you to walk in a classroom and our students not trust you immediately because that's what they've been taught. They are traumatized. That's what they've been taught. They see their people that look like them get killed on TV every day. They see how they're mistreated on social media. They see these things. So it's okay for you to walk in and earn trust. Y'all don't want to work for nothing. You think it's supposed to be dropped in your lap. Entitled. And so that's what I say. So when we do that and I talk about allyship, I think about all the teachers in this situation with this baby graduating. And she walked today. They granted her permission to walk, but they tried to make it like, well, we just want to let y'all know that it wasn't the power of social media bullshit. It was the power of social media because everybody was blowing y'all's phones up. Everybody was just in y'all's face. And they made something along like, this is how I say they censored the principal because they said, regardless of what happened, nobody has a right to threaten the principal. Threats that he's been receiving have been reprehensible and blah. Don't nobody
Watch
care.
your mouth.
Don't nobody care. No, we don't care.
your mouth.
I'm gonna call a spade, and we don't care because what you tried to do to that child was out of pocket, and so you get the energy that you put out
there.
And so when I say allyship, I think of how many teachers could have had the opportunity, black, white, brown. They say this is a predominantly white school, but how many teachers could have stood up and spoken out for that baby? What about the kids? I graduated from the Willow Ridge High School, and baby, the class of 2000 would have shut their whole damn graduation ceremony down. Oh, she not marching? We finna protest out in this mud. We ain't doing it. We ain't doing it at all. So, do we rock with allyship?
I'm gonna say no.
Okay.
I'm gonna say no. We don't rock with allyship, and the reason is because we ain't got time to figure out where it's genuine and where it's not. Because then that mean I got snakes hiding at every turn, and I don't know. It may be it's Angela talking, y'all. I just feel like you gonna be one way in my face when it's beneficial to you, but the minute that there are no other who look like me in the room, I don't know what you subjected to. I don't know what's gonna happen. So I think the theory of allyship sounds nice, but is it logical that it's gonna happen? No, because I feel like your loyalty, just like I feel like for myself, my loyalty is with mine.
With my people, yeah.
And like, there's nothing that can change that. We can say all day we don't see color, even though that's stupid. That's stupid shit to me. You don't see color, but we can say, "Oh, I want everybody to succeed." Y'all know when Trey pull up and Trey been struggling and he done failed the 6th grade and now his 8th grade year, his grades is up. He doing good. Who we clapping the loudest for? Trey. Yeah, Anna, you did good. Yeah, girl. But Trey finna get all my love. So what makes them so different for us to think that they not thinking the same way we think?
Yeah. What you think, Doc? You rock with allyship?
I think we talking about that particular subpopulation, white people. I'm just gonna say it because then there's a whole other conversation about people of color, and I'm like, they gunning for you too.
Yeah, they coming for you. Yeah.
I'm gonna say there's no allyship without reflection without doing the inner work.
Okay.
Because we don't get it right all the time. Because
Right.
we have internalized biases against our own folks.
True.
So if sometimes I get it wrong with my own kids,
How you gonna get it?
how you gonna get it right? And so when no one's putting in the work and an 8-hour training ain't the work,
You get 8 hours? Y'all get 8 hours?
I just made that up.
Oh, 'cause,
assuming people actually
What
get
training?
it.
Because
you know,
what training?
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
See that part. Or people just think the training is enough. It's like, I still don't get it right, and I have a PhD in this and this. We literally just talk about this for fun, and so it's just like it takes everyday work
And lived
to-
experience.
exactly.
Being in a situation.
and so you can't be an ally if you're not doing the work. You can't be an ally if you don't think that you're a part of the problem.
That's the problem.
Because then I don't think that, because I haven't done that inner work or even thought about my personal biases and experiences that might actually contribute to that bias in whatever way. So if you haven't done any of that, how can you possibly be an ally? And so, but some folks ain't claiming to be an ally. And that's the thing. You assume because folks work in a black or brown school
damn,
that
you
they
didn't
are
have to
ally. No.
Because
You
I
did not
feel
have to
like
hit me.
out of all of my years, I've only met one.
And if you're a savior, and
One-
if you have
I
a
feel
savior
like we
complex,
got
that
one
doesn't make you an
ally.
ally.
You feel like we got one?
I
You
feel
got to
like
write the
we-
name on the paper because I need to know. But you didn't have to hit me with
I
that
know
one.
some from my graduate program.
Okay.
But again, look at what level.
Let me give you the pen.
Look at what level we at.
Yeah.
You're talking about some folks who've been teaching or in education for a long time, and they've read the work and they've done the work.
Oh, yeah.
That's
him.
And the reason why I say is
Him.
because whenever
Oh, yeah.
praise is given to
Yeah.
that one, he gonna push
He
it off and
immediately-
say,
It ain't.
"No, it's
Them. This
Yeah.
is facts.
Them your people.
This is
them,
facts.
They
Yeah.
they the ones who make me great."
But you were engaged to us. I think.
Oh, he was?
You know what? I know some folks. I say, yeah, they like us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You
Oh,
rock
that
with
would
us.
make sense.
You rock with us the long way.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Y'all making me
Oh, yeah.
think of somebody I used to work with.
Yeah.
Because he like black women.
But
Okay.
you are heavy on your praise of black women.
Yes.
In the black men
But
that you
don't go
work with,
around
too.
saying I'm an ally.
No, but
It's
you
through
and
what
And
you
don't
do.
even say it. Exactly.
You don't
It's
say
through
it. You
your
don't have to
words.
say it. And I know because you get to work at 7:00 every morning, and them kids be in your room. I'd be like, baby, could not be me. And they
Ain't
be in
doing
there.
it.
You really are trying to solve the problem. You really are a part of the solution. So
Yeah.
that definitely can go. But again, y'all, I want to have y'all back next week to talk about it. I do this little segment called Flowers, and I feel like, dang, we could do this next week when I talk to y'all again because I really want to have y'all back. I've already booked y'all to be back here next week. But
Wait, I didn't say.
I appreciate your insight. I think y'all are two of the most intelligent women that I know that could talk about this topic and talk about it at ease. You know, like it's nothing. Like you said, for fun. Talk about this shit for fun.
Yeah, let's go.
And we probably could sit there and talk for hours. I know you said you got to kick back. You about to go do hot teacher shit. So I definitely don't want to hold you real hot girl shit. But and we talked the stallion together.
Oh,
Was she there? Was she there when you were there?
Wait,
No, she was not. I think you were gone.
the stallion was there?
Girl,
I didn't know.
you must
that.
have left that year. She came.
What year was it? 'Cause you know I would go back to school. and
Yeah, you go
stress me out,
back to
baby.
school. What's that? You like that TikTok where they say when you piss a black woman off, she's going to get another degree.
Baby.
That was her ass. She quit in the middle of the year. I'm going to UCLA. Oh, I'm going to this. I'm going to that. That was her. I think she came the year you left.
I left in 2009.
Oh yeah.
No, wait. I came back in 2009, left in 2010
Yeah.
when they got that new
Mhm.
superintendent. I
Yeah.
said, you know what? Y'all doing some food
Yeah.
shit.
You left. It was your gap year. But
Because I worked there twice.
you did.
The first time I was there, you weren't there.
I was not there. Yeah. So anyway, I appreciate y'all ladies. Again, thank you to Dr. Armstead, the Afro teacher on TikTok, author of Different and Deficient. We appreciate you for sponsoring today's episode. Guys, we're going to be back next week with these ladies because we got some more shit to talk about. And I think now I want to take the conversation into the microaggressions that we face from these women. But we're going to get into that next week. So again, thank you ladies for coming and talking to me. And I'll see y'all next week. All right, guys. Thank you. What? This podcast was made possible by producer extraordinaire D. Francis at the legendary Lab 7 Studios in Mo City, Texas.